there. Welcome. You found 80s Totally Awesome. I'm your host, 80s Totally Awesome. It's great to meet you. So, I'm a guy who was born in the 1980s, and what this channel is this channel is about my opinions from an 80s perspective. That can be on pop culture, that can be on 80s things, pretty much anything that I feel like. But for the most part, this channel is going to focus on the interests I have from an 80s perspective. And we're going to get to the title of this video, but I just wanted to make this a small introduction to say hello to you and welcome. All right, to the topic of this video. Star Wars. I was a child when Return of the Jedi came out. I was born before that, but throughout my life as a fan of pop culture, Star Wars has played, I would say, an equal role to me with a lot of other content, a lot of other IPs. However, it had remained the top shelf, top tier sci-fi IP that you could name. Star Trek was always a close second for me. I mean, really close. But Star Wars was, when you talked about film, Star Wars was number one. Star Trek was a television-based show, so it never had quite the same movie level. And back in the day, you had a hierarchy. You had plays, so that would be live performances on stages. You had commercials, which were, we all know what a commercial is. There's probably going to be a commercial playing in the middle of this video at some point, whether I want it to or not. And then there is television, so that would be the silver screen, and then, or the small screen. And then you had the golden screen, the platinum screen, if you will, movies. And Star Wars was up here, and Star Trek was right there. And so it played a role, but it had a definition. It had a hierarchy, is what I'm saying. Now, to a lot of people, it was different. They focused... Oops, I didn't mean to hit that. They focused and they obsessed about Star Wars. And some people focused and obsessed about Star Trek. And some people had kind of an amalgamation of the stuff in the middle. I was one of the people who had an amalgamation of stuff in the middle. I really love Star Wars and I really love Star Trek, and I just kind of enjoyed them both. I love the movies. I love them so much. I love the arcade. I loved anything with Star Wars. I even had the Kenner Star Wars action figures. I even had Darth Vader's helmet and torso figure holder for them as a kid. A lot of kids did. And Kenner, they were made by Kenner. So we wanted new Star Wars content, but we wasn't sure what we were going to get, because they did try to make other Star Wars content. They made the Ewoks television show, and they made 2, I believe, Ewoks films, and they made some other things that didn't pan out as well. Then they came out with, Lucas and Lucasfilm came out with the prequel trilogy. And this would be episode 1, 2, and 3. Now, episode 1 was flawed, but decent. Okay, interesting, decent. Episode 2 was, I guess it had more action, and some people like that more than others. And then episode 3, and then after that, fans were kind of not super happy with George Lucas and what he has done, what he did to the original the original Star Wars films. They didn't like the direction, and they really didn't like the CGI. So, George Lucas got a lot of fan backlash for that, but more or less, George Lucas was still hailed as one of the biggest, best brains in science fiction and knew Star Wars inside and out. So, what happened is after some time went by, a lot of time, Disney, under Bob Iger, decided to start buying up studios in I guess a plead to, he's got other people's money, why not spend it? Let's go spend it. A shopping trip, a shopping spree, if you will. And he bought Lucasfilm and created Disney Star Wars. Now, someone was needed to be appointed, and that was Kathleen Kennedy, who had previously worked in Hollywood, and George Lucas knew, or he thought he knew, pretty well. And we all know what happened. All that information is out there. If you want to learn more about that, you can Bing it or Google it or DuckDuckGo it. You can just go search it. And you can find out all the different things that had happened to bring us to where we are now. And where we are now is in a place that a lot of people would say is not a good place. And I have to agree with them. This is not the best place to be in, because at this particular moment, you have a divide. And there's this divide that's growing even longer, stronger, and wider than the Grand Canyon. Because you have over here Disney Lucasfilm, and you have over here Star Wars fans. They bought the myth and legends, but the fans are the keepers of the myths and legends. And when they don't join together and work together, what you get is you get utter, total garbage and trash that nobody wants, nobody's going to buy, nobody's going to support, and nobody's going to take seriously. So, Disney releases the sequel trilogy, an absolute train wreck of a thing. Not only does it ruin the myths and legends that Lucas produced, but it also destroys and lays low and tries to call out the fans who've been trying to keep these myths and legends together, the keepers of the myths and legends. And it's ripped them apart along political lines in the United States and around the world in a way that is separating it from what it should be, which is everyone getting together, sitting around this big, giant feel of this thing called Star Wars, right? That's the way it used to feel. That's the way it used to come across to you, was when you sat down and looked at it, you were like, whoa, Star Wars. Now it's like, okay, what political agenda are they going to put in? Who are they going to talk down to now? That kind of stuff. And then people started taking sides and tribalism started happening. And we have this rift. And you have a rift between the company, the studio, and the people, the fans, the storytelling, myths and legend keepers, and the people who bought it and don't really care about it, and they don't hold that to their heart anymore. It's instead of their heart, it's their pocketbook, really. And not even this. That this is sad because of recent events. Not even that has been respected. It's more about agenda. This is ridiculous. and that's one of the reasons why I came to this video, why I'm creating this video, and that is because I feel like there's, not to steal a quote, but to say a quote, I feel there is a great disturbance in the force. And the force is the fans. The fans are getting absolutely dumped on. They're being told that they're myths, they're legends, everything they love, everything they want means nothing. And they're just cranking out. I hate to say this and quote a famous rap battle video. It's essentially assembly line whimsy they're cranking out, and they're not doing a very good job of that. They've taken this amazing science fiction fantasy franchise and they are tearing it limb from limb for seemingly for profit, seemingly for the pocketbook. But they're not even doing that. So the rift has happened because after all of that deluge of stuff, we're down to television shows on Disney Plus. Disney Plus is Disney's streaming service that they've bet a lot of their company's future success upon. And I don't even think they care about this in that way, because if they did, they would listen to what the fans want and not bother with these target fans that they want, who are never going to buy a single piece of kit from them ever. No toys, no bed sheets, no, pajamas, nothing. They're not going to buy a word of it, a thing. And Disney knows the most profitable area of their Star Wars, Disney and Lucasfilm, of their entire content is classic Star Wars, George Lucas Star Wars. But they're messing that up. And now we have this truncated, abridged, ridiculous show of the Book of Boba Fett. Now, I've tried to be nice with this. I've tried to have balance, maintain balance, and try to see the good areas versus the bad areas and try to balance this together as a single solitary thing. Well, that has not gone very well for me because Lucasfilm and Disney has made it even harder for someone like me to do that. And because of this show, The Book of Boba Fett, there is this rift between these fans who see something good and these fans who want the status quo, and if there's minor changes, that it is very minor, and you stick to that. And because of that, you're split the people who are at the most should be supporting each other and caring for each other and forcing Star Wars through Lucasfilm and Disney to become better, to be more responsible to the fans, to be accountable to the fans. But they're not doing that. What they're doing instead is they're causing this to be something that is a rift, a divide. And the way back has to come from Disney Lucasfilm. Jon Favreau, with what we know now about the Book of Boba Fett and how this entire show and season has wrapped up, we know Book of Boba Fett is not the show, and Jon Favreau is definitely not the person, until we see it, is not the person to bring that back together. We have to do it as fans. We have to balance ourselves, put away some of our knives, and look at this company and go, you're not doing a good enough job. You need to start doing better. And if you don't do it now, both us and our pocketbooks are going away. And you are going to be left with nothing. Absolutely nothing. And it's your fault. So, this video was about my attempt to talk about this rift, the need for balance, and kind of a short history of what Disney and Lucasfilm under Disney had become versus Lucasfilm under George Lucas was, and how there is no perfect person to continue these stories on except for the people who have held it up all these years, the fans like me and like you, the people who have seriously taken the time and the effort to buy video games, bed sheets, wall posters, toys, models, t-shirts, socks, wearing socks. You've taken this into your heart and your soul and your life, and I think it's wrong and it's not good, and I think we all need to come back to our senses and our sanity and make Disney Lucasfilm accountable for the facts that they just have not hit the mark at all, and they keep hiring on people who are not going to do the job and are not going to give us what we want. Anyway, this was my first video, and I want to thank you for watching my first video. If you have any positive comments that you want to leave, please leave them down below. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a like. And thank you again for stopping by, watching my video, checking out my channel. Hopefully I'll be able to get to do a lot more of these, talk a little bit more about what I'm passionate about, and together we can enjoy the 80s perspective, and pop culture. I've been 80s Totally Awesome. You are totally awesome. Thanks for stopping by. And remember, be excellent to each other. And I'll see you next video. Peace out.